us across the oceans till we found the American dream.
Thanks for tuning in. My name, Fraser, please. My name is Ingrid Lemmy, and this is my show, American Dream. A show about people, their hopes, their dreams, their family heritage, and their unbelievable realities. My guest today, by the way, is a Hamptons exclusive. On the Dream Show today at Gurney's Inn in Montauk, Miss Deidre Clark. Let me just give you a little bit of a background, our viewers, of course, to understand what is it, what we are talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. Ms. Deidre, international attorney Deidre Clark, this is who she is. Okay, she posted a spy novel on the internet and is suing a law firm, which we're going to discover, for almost 22 million pounds. Mm-hmm. For alleged sexual harassment and. Obviously you are fired, and it's one of those wow things which took off and has taken on a life on its own, yes, basically, and you are an all Brooklyn girl, at least yes, that's where you came and came from, and we want to tell the story.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you everybody for watching. Okay, Ms. Deidre, first of all, a little bit about family heritage. Give us a little bit about your ancestry.
Well, I'm only second generation. My father was born in 1918, and he had me relatively late in life, and he fought in the war. Mm-hmm. So I was raised with a very immigrant, off the boat mentality. I knew both my grandparents; they were alive, and they had literally made their way across. My on one side was Irish, mm-hmm, potato famine. On the other side, Russian. So mm-hmm, they had made their way on the boat, yes, to the States through Ellis Island.
Yeah.
And
so the real Ellis Island.
The real
wow,
Ellis Island. And,
yes,
and that's mainly because I had so late in the life.
Did you ever go back to Ellis Island? And,
yeah,
and
I have.
Did you find their
names?
It
now. It's amazing. You
really?
Can do it now. And they were in abject poverty, So my father pulled himself out of poverty because of the war. He took the GI Bill when he got back, yeah, from the war, mm-hmm, got his PhD, got his college degree, and he had, very limited horizons for what we could do. He had 7 daughters, and his idea was that I should become a social worker. That would be an amazing thing. But I was one of these girls who read. I read all the time, and I thought, I don't want to be a social worker. Not that there's anything wrong, but I want to have this amazing life, and I want to have money, and I don't want to worry about, buying a pair of boots. And so it was my own idea to go to law school, which he did not think I was going to be able to do it. I left, I was in public school, I got a scholarship to Packer in Brooklyn, and then I went early admission to Barnard, again, my own idea, and I paid for myself to go through Barnard and Columbia Law School. So this career of mine was everything to me, because I just built it out of nothing. And I was the first person to get, this kind of success in my family.
So you paid your ways through college?
And law school.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What were the jobs you did?
Well, in the summer, I did a lot. I'm a great typist.
Yeah.
I can type very fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I took out student loans, as you do.
Yeah.
So I think I graduated with almost $250,000 student loans.
Oh boy.
That was back in '89. Mm-hmm. And my father still never could believe it, but I had really done it. So it's almost the epitome of the American dream.
Yeah, it really is.
And I wanted to travel. I wanted to see the world. And I've been everywhere. I've been to 99 countries. I'm waiting to do my 100th.
99 countries.
I've even
you are what they consider a frequent traveler.
I am. And
so you have a lot of miles on your account.
I think they're all gone now. For the past 4 years, I've had to use them.
Yeah.
I've been to Antarctica. I've been to the Ice Hotel. I really wanted to see everything. And so I had a life that was very meaningful to me that I had done all on my own, mm-hmm, with no help. And that's why when all this happened to me, I couldn't just let it go. Mm-hmm. One, I come from a family of fighters, like that immigrant sort of mentality, but I had to fight it. I didn't know it would go on for it's been 4 years. I'm in my 5th year, which is just soul destroying, but you got to just keep fighting it.
You're still working?
No, I haven't had a job in 4 years. I'm unemployable. Because, well, one, I think most women know this. Don't sue for sexual harassment, because I don't even like the idea, You know, it's the idea of women as victims bothers me, but the idea of myself as a victim is even more unpalatable. But you've met me. I mean, obviously, I am not a mousy kind of person.
Definitely not.
Right. So if it could happen to me, honestly, it can happen to everyone. And it's not like I want to be the face of sexual harassment in the 21st century, but it obviously does happen. And it was something out of like 1950.
Yeah.
You know, that's how it was. So no, because if you Google me, you know.
Which I did.
Right.
And my production team did.
The seventh thing, if you put in Deidre Dare, is like super slut Deidre Dare. And, you know, you become someone just because you're involved in something like this. Everyone just writes stuff like, I mean, you think, well, you know, I didn't sleep with a guy, so why does that make me a slut? But, you know, you become unemployable for both reasons. One, you're a victim at the best. At the worst, I'm a whore. So it's a very odd situation. And I had thought that the world had moved on. I didn't think about these things at all when I was in law school. We were all modern, but I was wrong. I was wrong. So it's a very uncomfortable position to be in.
Yes, and it is a very interesting story. Deidre, you lived in the city.
Yes.
You lived in Brooklyn.
Yes.
You were actually there when the towers came down.
Right. I lived in the Clock Tower building.
And you know what? You brought some photos that you took. I don't know how much it has to do, but it's basically part of your old life.
It is, and it's also the reason.
These are just very, very interesting photos that that are you. These are your eyes. These
Right.
are your lenses.
And because I lived in Brooklyn Heights my whole life, I watched the towers be built, and so when they came down, I was quite traumatized by it, which is why I started working abroad to start with. So,
yes. So that's
right.
now we're going to continue. That's why you started to go abroad. Yeah. What happened abroad? What did you do abroad?
Well, first I was in London, then I was in Sydney, and then Singapore, and then finally Russia, which is where all this happened.
You worked for what company?
Allen & Overy. Well, in Australia, a different company, but in Russia and Singapore and London, I worked for Allen & Overy.
What happened in Australia?
Australia, I was fine. It was 4 pleasant years. Nothing very exciting happened there, but I'm a city girl. So eventually it just became a little bit too suburban for me. But there's nothing.
Australia is really more country-like.
It is.
Yes?
It is.
Yeah, that's why I feel like I need to go there. Still on my bucket list.
No, you should definitely go. It's a beautiful country, and I had lots of good times. I climbed the bridge. You know, I did all those adventurous things there. But it's a very quiet, easy place, and I'm obviously much more of a type A person. So I wanted to get back into more bigger cities, which is why we left. But I had a good 4 years there. It was pleasant.
Yes.
The other thing is I'm terrible at driving because I'm from Brooklyn. Got my license when I was about 30, 35, and I could never figure out how to drive on the other side of the road. You know, I can't even figure out how to drive on this side of the road. So.
Yes,
it was good to get out.
I was in South Africa and introduced to. I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it.
I couldn't. I never did.
It's like I would be constantly in accidents. Forget it. So that's not going to work.
No, me too.
Deidre, from there, obviously, you went to Russia.
Right.
Now, a little bit of your roots, back to your roots. Yeah, there is a little bit of Russian in you. Yeah.
The interesting thing was my family reacted very negatively to it.
Can you believe it?
Because we all, we remember Grandma, and she hated Russia. I mean, she got out of Russia during the pogroms and that kind of thing, and the anti-Semitism. And my family thought it was insane to go back to somewhere we had fought so hard to get out of. To get
I can understand that. I can understand that. However, what was your feeling of living in Russia? How did you like it?
Well, Russia's a very...
Until the drama.
Right. No, Russia's a very difficult place to live. I mean, every day, if you went to bed alive, you're like, oh my God, I made it through the day. It is a very hard place to live.
Is it?
It's a big adventure.
Yeah.
You know, the police are corrupt and it's dangerous. But I grew up in Brooklyn in the 70s.
Yeah.
So in a way, it kind of reminded me of being a child, because back in the 70s, I'm talking like in the Koch years and stuff, things were pretty rough in Brooklyn too. So I was used to it. I mean, I have street smarts, and I got through it. But it was all, furs and dashas and, horseback riding in the winter. They have horses, drawn sleighs going through the town. It's what you would imagine.
It really is.
Yes, and of course, I've read Tolstoy and Dostoevsky, and it's exactly like you think it is. It is.
The company you worked for at that point in Russia, How were you communicating? I mean, you obviously fluent in English.
Well, we all were fluent in English. We were and not Russian. So the only Russians who
You didn't have to speak.
Niet. The only words I know in Russian are niet, no, da,
Yeah,
spasiba. I can say go right, go left, and gin and tonic.
Yeah.
Champansky.
Yeah, champansky.
But the Russians who are educated and who are doing at that level of business all speak English. Okay. That's how it's done.
So they are fluent in English. You didn't have a problem.
No.
Working for the company you were working.
No.
Yes.
Because it was an English firm. So it was an English firm that had an office in Russia, a very small office. We had a lot of Russians working with us, but they were all bilingual.
Right.
It was more of a problem if you wanted to go to the supermarket and you can't find an avocado.
Yeah.
But you learn to act things out.
Yeah.
You do.
Sure. Oh, trust me, I know what you're talking about. Deidre, I am so fascinated by your story that I forget completely. We have to take a break.
Okay.
Please forgive me. Thank you for watching.
You can't put a price on true love. But in the end, every little girl has a dream. And though over time the details may change, one thing still remains the same. The feeling she gets walking down that aisle. Come experience your dream at Gurney's Inn in Montauk.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
For some weird reason, I thought you're going to stay with us, with this amazing woman, her story. And of course, here at Gurney's Inn, overlooking the ocean in Montauk, Ms. Deidre Clark, an international attorney, with a rather sad story, who was in the process of please forgive me, of suing her former employer for sexual harassment. That's the story we are telling today about her life and how it all came about. So you are in Russia, you are living the Russian lifestyle, you are working for this company, and what comes next?
And remember, I was in my 40s at the time, so I wasn't some whippersnapper. Russia's a scary, lonely place. My boss was probably around 60, and he was English, and we had a very brief fling. Which would be fine, and he just could not let it go. He was alternatingly hostile to me or coming on to me. And you just stay away from that. It was obviously, it's a very small office, let's just forget it happened, let's just move on, let's just be adults. Mm-hmm. And it just got worse and worse and worse because I started to see a Russian in the office. And it went on for months where he just tortured me and kept coming on and torturing me. And of course I didn't do anything because you want to avoid doing anything. You never want to file one. And then he called me into his office at the end of the year and he said, basically, you're fired. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what? So he had fired me. And then I thought, well, you have to do it. So I got a lawyer and I filed my sexual harassment grievance. And they wrote back and they said, oh, we're taking your grievance. I have that with me we're taking your grievance very seriously. And on another matter, we're bringing you up on disciplinary charges and suspending you for this novel that you have online, which had been online for 4 months. And I said to them, well, the novel,